Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good morning to all of our listeners here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Welcome to another edition of Front and Center, where we put very significant issues affecting our country, the Philippines, as our program title says, Front and Center. On behalf of our colleague Jerome Toledo, I'm your host for today, Steph Vicente, joining you all for a 30-minute worth of talk discussing important matters with our government officials, people from the private sector, or even members of the academe. As seen through our video live streaming, you may watch and listen to Front and Center through our Facebook page. Just search Radyo Pilipinas World Service. The same goes for our official YouTube channel. Meanwhile, we also have an audio live streaming thanks to the Evox PBS receiver app. You may download the said mobile application via Google Play Store if you are using an Android phone, or via App Store if you are using an iPhone. Once you have entered the Evox PBS receiver app, just find the logo of Radyo Pilipinas World Service in order for you to be able to listen live to our programs such as Front and Center. We are also back on shortwave radio starting last December, as Front and Center is part of our English service, which airs from 10 o'clock to 11:30 in the morning Philippine Standard Time. You may listen to us via the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. For today's edition of Front and Center, we are going to talk about the fate of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. says the future of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, will depend on how much work it still needs to finish. Speaking to reporters in Mandaluyong City last Friday, the President said the commission is already nearing the end of its mandate. He explained that most of the alleged anomalous flood control projects have already been investigated, with only a few remaining issues to be cleared. President Marcos added that no decision has been made yet on whether to appoint new commissioners, saying this would again depend on whether there is still work left for the ICI. Once the commission completes its task and submits all findings, the investigation will then be handled by the Department of Justice and the Office of the Ombudsman.
Much work they still have left. Kung matapos na yung trabaho nila, we will see what they can do next. But they really are coming to the end. Lahat ng kailangan imbestigahan na nila. Maybe there are one or two other loose ends that they have to clear up.
Are you planning to reappoint commissioners?
Sorry?
Do you intend to reappoint new commissioners?
That we haven't really decided on that yet. Depends again. It all depends on the work that ICI still has in front of it. Pag kailangan pa, then we will. But if the work is done, kung naibigay na lahat ng information sa DOJ at saka sa Ombudsman, then the focus now of the investigation will go to the DOJ and the Ombudsman.
Noted that the ICI was created through Executive Order Number 94, signed by President Marcos last September, to look into alleged irregularities in flood control and related infrastructure projects over the past 10 years. The Commission is tasked to recommend the filing of appropriate cases before the DOJ and the Office of the Ombudsman. To have an in-depth discussion on this topic, we are now joined by Communications Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro. Yusek Castro, welcome to Front and Center. This is Steph Vicente again of Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Yes, good morning, Steph, and to all the viewers watching your program today. Good morning.
Good morning again. Thank you so much, Yusek Castro, for giving us your time given your very busy schedule. For our first question for you, you previously stated that there was no directive to dismantle the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI. Has this status changed following the President's recent remarks that the probe is coming toward the end?
No, the ICI has still the mandate to make the investigations as of today. And according to the ICI, it has to consolidate records and all the documents and all the reports, and they will report it to the President. And let us see, the President will check on the report of the ICI. If ever the President will see that the purpose for which it is being created has been done and accomplished, then we will see what will be the next move for the President on that with regard to the ICI's mandate.
Given what was said by the President, what is Malacanang's current assessment of the work completed by the ICI?
The President is satisfied with the accomplishments made by the ICI. Lots of cases had been recommended for the filing to the DOJ and Ombudsman. Still, there are still some documents and testimonies by the persons being summoned. So there are still more works to be done by the ICI. Although Secretary Babe Singson and former Commissioner Fajardo had already made the manifestation that they had accomplished all the tasks given to them. So we'll just see what will the ICI will be doing with these documents and facts and the testimonies submitted to the office.
And now that you have mentioned Babe Singson and Rosana Fajardo, though the resignations of Singson and Fajardo significantly affect the ICI's capability as a commission, it does have one standing man, which is the chairperson, Andres Reyes Jr. Does the President still open to restore and fill positions left by Singson and Fajardo, or will the commission be allowed to expire with only chairperson Reyes remaining?
Let us see. I cannot speculate on that because this President has to check on the report of the ICI. At the moment, all the records, as I've said, they have been done with the work, and there is this bill about Independent People's Commission. Let's just see if the Congress will be done with the bill to be submitted to the President. And even if the ICI will be with a one-man commission, and that's Justice Andres, we believe that it can still work on that. And the Ombudsman and the DOJ are the main investigative bodies that can also do the work. So the President is not worried about that.
And the ICI recently announced that it would submit a consolidated accomplishment report to Malacanang. Has this report been received, and will the President use it to trigger the sunset clause should ICI dissolves?
As we speak now, I was not given any information. I am not given any information. I haven't received any information from the President or from the OP if the consolidated report has already been submitted by the ICI.
And you have once mentioned that the ICI's role is recommendatory. Does the palace believe that recommendations made by a single commissioner carry the same legal weight as those made by a full three-person body?
Yes, it's just a recommendation. Anybody, even you can recommend the filing of the case if ever we have all the documents necessary to be investigated by the DOJ and the Ombudsman. So with that, considering if the documents would be complete enough for the proper investigation of these investigative bodies, we can see that even just a one-man commission, it can recommend the filing of the case.
And then the President indicated that focus will shift to the Department of Justice and the Ombudsman once the ICI clears its loose ends. What is the specific timeline for this transition of evidence and files?
depends. It all depends on the outcome and the report of the ICI. The president will check on that. The president will scrutinize if the ICI needs more time to accomplish its task. If the president can see that everything has been done, and ombudsman, the OJ can take over with this fact finding. I think it all depends on the situation.
Meanwhile, how will the palace ensure that the 20.3 billion pesos in frozen assets and other recovery efforts initiated by the ICI are not compromised during a potential dissolution?
That be compromised with the potential dissolution of what? Of the ICI?
Yes, yes.
Again, please, can you repeat the question?
The question is, how will the palace ensure that the 20.3 billion pesos in frozen assets and other recovery efforts initiated by the ICI are not compromised during a potential dissolution?
But there's already a record given by the AMLAC, and even without the ICI, it is already part of the record. Then the ombudsman and the OJ can go after that. Can run after that. So there is no risk, even if the ICI will be dissolved, still the DOJ and the ombudsman can investigate on that matter.
Meanwhile, how will Malacanang address concerns that the momentum for accountability may slow down once the ICI's mandate ends?
Actually, the ICI is just a fact-finding committee. It is just an initial action on the part of the president so that everything, all the documents that needed to be collated, be gathered. ICI could help the DOJ and the ombudsman. But the main task of investigating is on the part of the DOJ and the ombudsman. So even if the ICI is now coming towards the end, the DOJ and ombudsman can still work on that. They can still work on that.
And you earlier mentioned about several lawmakers pushing for a permanent independent commission against infrastructure corruption to replace the ad hoc ICI. Does the president support the transition of the ICI into a permanent legislative body?
Yes, as a matter of fact, this is one of his priority bills. He mentioned that during the LEDAC meeting. And his only concern is that there should be an assurance that the Independent People's Commission, once created, it should not, that the functions of this and the jurisdiction should not overlap with regard to the jurisdiction of the DOJ and also of the Ombudsman. There should be no overlapping of the functions and jurisdiction.
Meanwhile, Yusek Castro, in hindsight, does Malacanang believe the ICI model should be used again for other large-scale government investigations?
Other anomalous projects, maybe, can be, but it depends upon the discretion of the president. Again, this is just an initial action on the part of the president so that everything would run smoothly with regard to the investigation and gathering of facts. But with regard to the other anomalies, it depends upon the government. It depends upon the president, rather.
And before I let you go, Yusek Castro, what message does the palace have for the public regarding accountability and reform following the ICI investigation? Go ahead, Yusek.
Yes, the president wants everyone who is liable should answer for that. Sabi nga niya, managot ang dapat na managot. He started this and he wants to end this in his administration. He wants to clean the government. So let's just be patient. Let's just have this patience and let's have this trust to the president and let us support the agenda and the advocacy of the president to clean the government from the corrupt officials. So let us help him.
And with that, thank you very much again, Undersecretary Castro, for joining us here in the program Front and Center. Until next time po, mabuhay po kayo.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you to all the viewers who watch our program. Thank you so much.
And we were just joined by Communications Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro. We will be back after a few reminders from the station.
This is a public service announcement.
Maging handa sa oras ng sakuna. Para sa iyo at sa iyong pamilya, laging siguruhin. Go Bag ay nakahanda at naglalaman ng mga sumusunod. Ilang pirasong damit, ready-to-eat na pagkain at inuming aabot ng 3 araw. Personal na gamit para sa inyong hygiene. First aid kit kabilang ang alcohol, bandages, gamot sa lagnat, ubo at sipon, pati na rin ang inyong vitamins at maintenance medicines. Maglagay ng pito, flashlight, lighter o posporo. Huwag kalimutan ang mga charger o power bank. At higit sa lahat, isama ang mga importanteng gamit gaya ng inyong mga legal na dokumento, IDs, ATM o passbook, insurance at iba pa.
This is a public service announcement. Public service announcement from PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, and Radyo Pilipinas.
Mabilisang trivia, dagdag talino. Heto na ang Dagling Kaalaman.
Madalas ka bang magpuyat at kulang sa tulog? Lumalabas sa pag-aaral na ang madalas sa pagpupuyat at laging kulang sa tulog ay nakakaapekto sa iyong kalusugan, partikular sa iyong puso at metabolismo. Maaari itong maging sanhi ng hypertension, mataas na kolesterol, stroke, heart attack, obesity, diabetes at iba pa. Kaya tandaan, sleep well, live well.
Kaunting kaalaman na malaking dagdag talino. Abangan muli ang susunod na Dagling Kaalaman.
This is a public service announcement.
Discipline is the key. Umiwas sa aksidente sa daan. Ang pagmamaneho ay may kaakibat na responsibilidad, hindi basta mapaandar lang ang sasakyan. Kilatisin ang sarili, ang kahandaan sa manibela, siguruhing inyong konsentrasyon ay hindi magagambala. Importante rin na ating laging isipin, init ng ulo ay huwag pairalin, bagkus kaligtasan ng lahat ang siyang dapat unahin. Isang mahalagang paalala mula sa Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko 738.
This is a public service announcement. Public service announcement from PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko 738.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
And now we're back here in the program Front and Center. As you have witnessed earlier, we were joined by Presidential Communications Office or PCO Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro regarding the future of or what would happen now to the Independent Commission for Infrastructure or ICI. As a recall, just last Friday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos said the future of ICI will depend on how much work it still needs to finish. And we ask Yusek Castro if since she previously stated that there was no directive to dismantle the ICI, if this status changed following the president's recent remarks, and she said that as of now, there are no directives as of the moment regarding the possible dissolution of the ICI. Of course, she also mentioned that the ICI still has the capability to recommend even if there is only one member of the ICI who is the chairperson himself, retired Justice Andres Reyes Jr. Of course, there is still no definite timeline, as of course even the president mentioned that it will depend on how much work the ICI still has to handle as of the moment. Meanwhile, just earlier, there has been an announcement made by the president as the Philippines makes major gas discovery at Malampaya East, which is considered the first over a decade. Let me just read the full details of this. President Marcos announced just earlier the discovery of a major natural gas field at the Malampaya East 1 reservoir, the first in over a decade, which is expected to significantly boost the country's energy supply and strengthen long-term energy security. The president also stated the discovered reservoir is located about 5 kilometers east of the existing Malampaya field and estimated to contain around 98 billion cubic feet of gas in place. He also emphasized that the MAE-1 helps Malampaya's contribution and strengthens the country's domestic gas supply for many years to come. I guess there has been we have the video clips for this. Now at this point we will hear our Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
I am pleased to inform everyone that for the first time in over a decade, a significant natural gas discovery has been made. The discovered reservoir, called Malampaya East 1 or MAE-1, is located about 5 kilometers east of the existing Malampaya field. The MAE-1 is estimated to contain around 98 billion cubic feet of gas in place. Katumbas nito ang halos 14 na bilyong kilowatt-hour ng kuryente sa isang taon. Ibig sabihin, makakapag-supply ito ng kuryente sa mahigit 5.7 milyong kabahayan, 9,500 na gusali o halos 200,000 paaralan sa loob ng isang taon. This helps Malampaya's contribution and strengthens our domestic gas supply for many years to come. Initial testing showed that the well flowed at 60 million cubic feet per day. This indicates that the well has the potential to produce even more, confirming it is a high productivity resource comparable to the original Malampaya wells. Aside from the natural gas, the discovery also includes condensate, which is a high-value liquid fuel. This additional resource can help support the government's efforts for the stabilization of our power supply. Ipinagmamalaki rin natin na Pilipino ang nanguna sa drilling na ito. Higit sa lahat, natapos nila ito na walang aksidente o environmental incident. MAE-1 is the first milestone under the Malampaya Phase 4 drilling campaign, which also includes the Camago 2 and the Bagong Pag-asa wells. The next steps are the completion and testing of the Camago 3, followed by the drilling of the Pag-asa exploration well to pursue more potential gas resources. This achievement was made possible through the work of the SC38 Consortium led by Prime Energy in partnership with UC38, PNOC Exploration Corporation, and Prime Oil and Gas Incorporated. Patunay ito na sa responsableng pangangalaga sa kaligsasan at matibay na pagtutulungan ng gobyerno at pribadong sektor, makakamit natin ang mas maaasahang supply ng enerhiya para sa bawat Pilipino.
Just heard Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. At this point, we'll now be ending today's edition of Front and Center. We would first like to thank our technical staff composed of Milo Janela, Susan Aison, Hiro Lucero, and Justin Osias, who made this program possible. We would also like to thank our executive producer for today, Mr. Leo Magpayo, and thank you as well to our station manager, Mr. Ray Sampang. Also, of course, how could I forget? We have to really thank our resource person for today's edition of Front and Center. Of course, Communications Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro. Stay tuned here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service for more updates, and as mentioned earlier, We're back on shortwave radio. Front and Center is part of our English service, which airs from 10 o'clock to 11:30 in the morning. That's Philippine Standard Time. You may listen to us via the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 megahertz. Until the next episode of our program, on behalf of Jerome Toledo, this has been your host, Steph Vicente. Good day and stay safe, everyone.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.